Hello. Trigger warning for those who practice the Rider-Waite Smith deck in this video. Be sure to post your comments below. I'd like to point out some distinctions between the original tarot deck, the Marseille deck, or derivations, dating back from the mid-15th century in Italy, 1450 or so, through the 1800s, versus the hybrid occult mystic card set, which is the Rider-Waite Smith, not a true tarot deck, from 1909, some 350 years or so after the Italian original, which actually goes back even further with elements in the Middle East and the Arabian cultures, which is beyond the scope of this video. But there are many elements in the Rider-Waite Smith that mirror the tarot, of course. However, it's a far cry from the original tarot. Clubs, or bâton in Francais, or bastone in the original Italian. Clubs are sticks, friends. This is a club. This is a stick. This is a bâton. This is a stick, or a club, as in the French deck. We still call them clubs. They're not wands. It's not some airy-fairy Merlin thing from Arthurian legend. And perhaps that's why the element was incorporated or changed in the Rider-Waite Smith. Perhaps had to do with some kind of Celtic thing. I'm not really sure about that. But these are clubs. It's an agricultural suit. A suit of industry, work, agriculture, earth, harvest. In my own deck here, I've colored these green. Now, these are coins. These are not pentacles or pentagrams, some Aleister Crowley thing. No, these are coins. Pentacles are an invention also of the Rider-Waite Smith of 1909. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Denare in Italian. Money. Coins. Okay? They're not pentacles. Denier in the antiquated French term that we see on the Marseille deck. Money. Financial matters. Wealth. That's all that suit's about. Financial matters, just as the clubs are about. Again, agriculture, earthy suit. Now, the artist of the Rider-Waite Smith, Pamela Colman Smith, was an accomplished artist, a schooled artist in her own right. And the images therein are often quite dark and do not allow the reader to develop his or her own imagination or creative or conceptual blending processes, because the image is just foisted upon the user of the cards. And some people get confused by that because perhaps they need such a graphic image foisted on them to, be able to figure anything out. I don't know. I don't find it really that difficult. Let me explain. This is the pip design of the swords, for example. This design here, you notice it's curved in the swords. That comes from a concept known as the mandorla, which was used in iconography and paintings, particularly in Renaissance Christian-themed paintings around figures like Mary and Jesus and things like that. Notice it's curved, whereas the club suit is straight. The sticks are straight, and the swords are curved with that mandorla. So it's really not that difficult once you dial that in. But that can confuse some people. The nice thing about the Marseille is it affords one to develop his or her own imagination. Check out the Ten of Swords in the Rider-Waite Smith. What a great image that is, huh? Doesn't really afford the user of the cards much room for interpretation, as far as tens being completion and swords representing thought, plan, strategy, for example. Or for a reverse meaning could be the lack thereof, the lack of the completion of the thought, the plan, the strategy. To me anyhow, it doesn't represent a body on the ground with 10 swords stuck in it. And yeah, the imagery in the Rider-Waite Smith is quite dark. And some of you may be attracted to that, but it's not the tarot. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid deck of using mostly tarot elements and a fair amount of other mystical, occult elements from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which actually comes out of Freemasonry, if I didn't mention that already. At the outset of the 20th century, there was a great fascination with the occult and mysticism. We see this in evangelical Christian movements as well. Mysticism and the occult really really gained ground. And that's where the tarot, that's the most popular tarot deck today, is still the Rider-Waite Smith amongst users. I mean, just go on YouTube here, and that's what you're going to see. However, it's not the real tarot. It's not the true tarot. The late tarot artist, tarot reader Vincent Petici, his channel here, Tarot Maps, is still up and going. He drew an interesting analogy saying that the Marseille deck is like reading the novel, and the Rider-Waite Smith or other derivative tarot oracle decks is like watching a movie. Just taking the suits at their basic value of like agriculture, nature, harvest, productivity, like working the fields. That's literally what this kind of suit would have represented. Okay? These are not wands. This is not some, I mean, that could be the domain of the magician, for example. I mean, that kind of looks like the magician's got a wand. I'll give you that. Okay, there's your wand. The magician has a wand. The Marseille deck just affords the user so much more latitude and flexibility in interpretation. And that's the way, in my estimation, this thing should be, as a fluid exercise in allowing one's mind gates to open in making individual connections and creative thinking between these images, and not having a graphic image foisted or jammed down your throat, particularly if it's just a bunch of darkness. Because I had the Rider-Waite Smith back in the 90s. A girlfriend had given it to me on my birthday. Had given the card deck to me on my birthday anyway. And, you know, I checked it out and I kept it around, kicking around for a few years, and I could never never resonated with me. You know, I was always fascinated or very intrigued by that tarot. Having read Dante's Divine Comedy, for example, you know, Italian literature, and been fascinated with all of this symbolism and archetypes, for sure the archetypes of the major arcana. However, I sold that deck years down the road, and, you know, later in life have discovered the Marseille deck, as in that's really where it's at, as far as allowing the mind to open up between these suits, between these images in a very basic, simplistic way, whether it be nature and agriculture and the earth with the clubs, and thought, planning, strategy of the swords. Could also represent violence, of course. There is that meaning. The cups, or the chalices, are always going to be the heart. That's an easy one. It's translated right through to the French deck. The coin suit is as simple as financial matters of one's own life in the reading and how it connects to the other cards in whatever spread you're using. Thanks for tuning in. I really look forward to reading the comments on this one. And stay tuned, because my upcoming video I'm going to be talking about the color scheme that I've applied here on this original revised deck from Pierre Madini's Marseille tarot from 1709, Dijon, France. Till then.